Hey everybody, how's it going? We're back with the videos for the path to restoration with the early K5HL, and got a couple of the back caps off, and we'll kind of talk about what some of the things that I had talked about in the last video, and then we'll kind of look at some of the nozzle wear that's happening and some things like that. So we'll jump right into it. The number 3 has quite a bit of wear on the nozzle itself. You guys can actually see it's not as deep of a bore anymore because the nozzle has actually been worn down. It's a little bit thicker, or a little bit less on the bottom, a little bit more on the top as far as the depth differences there. And then the number 1 isn't super terrible, but it definitely shows signs that it was starting to wear. You guys can see it started to wear into the actual bevel cut on that just a little bit. Like I said, not too terrible on this one. Definitely a little bit more on the 3, just because it had that issue. Not too sure why it was doing it on the 1 though. My guess is it might have had a thicker cushion ring, or it could just be from just honk time as well. This thing saw a lot of air time, a lot of honking in its career. So we'll come over and we'll check out the 3 back cap. And like I told you guys in the last video, you can see that weird lining in there. And that's actually from where the broken parts of the diaphragm were vibrating up against the back cap. And you can see a couple different stages. You can see on the left-hand side of that line, that middle line right there, you can see some older wear. And then you can see some newer wear on the right-hand side, where it's a little bit cleaner, a little shiny. And if we take the old back diaphragm, I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I have my windows open and there's a Gevo going through town. The nice K5HL. So I'll see if I can kind of place this how it was. Alrighty, so the other way. It's like a puzzle, guys. Just like a puzzle. Sorry, I should probably put the camera on the action here. I'm just trying to line this up for you guys the best I can. Alright, so I think that's right about on the money. Might be a little off. There we go. Alright. So it's pretty good horns tonight. So if you guys can see that line and how it kind of follows that, we take this piece and try to place it back in where it was, right about there. It's gonna sit in a little bit. Then I think that piece went there, and that piece went there. So it definitely broke in stages. I'm not sure which one of those pieces broke first. But just from the wear, you can really tell that they were broke for a while, rumbling around in there for quite a while. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. Like a little puzzle, little crime scene that we can kind of trace back and see exactly what happened. You guys can see that the parts got further wear after they were broke off because they don't really fit tight like they used to when it was all one piece. They're kind of rounded in spots. And then, of course, the evidence of them eating through the cushion ring. Only one side of it, though, they kind of decided, I think that was the bottom. They just kind of drifted towards the bottom and hung around in there. The interesting thing is they did not... they didn't break and fall into the area in between the diaphragm and the back cap itself. They stayed in the area just in between the diaphragms. So, kind of interesting. So they broke inward and not outward. Dump all that out there. But yeah, you guys can see. And it's not too crazy. I'm not worried about that at all. Just really fine engraving that it started to do. Nothing that prohibits the back cap from doing its job properly, and nothing that is going to cause further failure with the back cap. The diaphragm itself, you guys can see the nozzle ring line is very wide because it ate through that much of the nozzle. And then, so here's going to be your cool comparison here. So here is the 3-bell that came off of my other early K5HL that's sitting in there. That got turned into the HLA hybrid. You can see just how much of a beveled cut you see, top and bottom all around. Pretty decent amount. Now we stick these side by side and you can really see, try to get a good angle on that while I'm holding this, guys, sorry about that. You guys can really see just how much of that bevel edge you're not seeing anymore because it's so worn down. The nozzle ring is considerably wider. You guys can just see that back to back there. So she definitely did some eating. From the sound clip that I did in the part 1 of this, I'm not worried about the sound quality at all. She actually sounded really on par, had that beautiful classic early K5HL tone. So I'm not going to worry about replacing that 3 with this 3. Maybe someday, like way further down the road, if it ever becomes an issue and starts affecting the sound quality, I will save this 3 so that way someday if I ever have to, I can just put the new 3 in its place. But as of right now, this horn is still in pretty good shape. The front diaphragms, I'm going to reuse these. I'm not going to put cleaned up used ones in. These have a little bit of a lip, and I might go back in my words on that. I'll see how it sounds with better conditioned diaphragms that don't have. This is basically what I use, guys. You can tell they've been used, but there's literally no. You guys can see from the light shining on it, there's no biting into the diaphragm considerable yet. This actually has a little path. You guys can actually see with your own eyes the little ridge that it's created. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to label these diaphragms the front ones. I'm going to keep the back ones because they're really not too bad, just a little dirty. But I'll just see how it sounds with better conditioned diaphragms. If I mean, it in theory it should sound just fine. But if for some reason it doesn't quite sound as good as it did before, I'll go back and use the original diaphragms because they're still usable. They still got some life in them. I've had ones that were a lot more chewed in than these, which is really surprising for how bad the nozzle is worn down, that the diaphragm isn't considerably bit in deeper. But yeah. And then the one, yeah, so we already talked about the one. Sorry guys, it's currently like 2:20, 2:21 in the morning. So so sorry if my words are a little slow here. So yeah, like I said, there's definitely some wear on this. It's not near as bad as the 3. And the only reason I didn't open up the rest of these right now is because they're actually in really good condition. We know why the 3 got so worn down. Not too sure why the 1 got as worn down as it did. Like I said, I'm guessing it's just from air time. You guys can see diaphragm's about the same condition. Probably it's you guys can definitely tell it's not quite as bit in as this one is. Oh, you guys can really see that ridge. This one, you just see a little bit of wear, nothing too crazy. So the one I'm definitely not concerned about. Haven't even pulled these apart yet. Sorry guys, I'm doing this one-handed. And they don't want to come apart here. I'll worry about that later. So yeah, I mean, you guys can see there's nothing, no cracks, nothing else is broken. When I checked on the rest of them, there were no other chipped, cracked, or broken diaphragms, front or rear. The one back cap looks to be really good. No damage in there. A little bit of water lying there. When I do the clean on this, I'm not going to get quite as crazy as I normally do. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time trying to scrub all the staining out of there, as much staining as I can get as possible. I'm basically just going to clean any foreign material that can break loose. Dust particles, soot, if there's calcium deposits, I'll try and get some of that stuff so that way it doesn't eventually rattle free and start floating around in there. There's a little bit of buildup here and there inside the power chambers, nothing too crazy. Honestly, I've seen a lot worse. So I'm pretty much just going to do a really, we'll call it a soft clean. Won't go quite as hardcore as I normally have been going on cleaning. I don't want to affect the sound too much. We'll definitely we'll clean up the nozzles a little bit. They're actually still like pretty clean. They're just kind of a little dirty, nothing too crazy. So yeah, the cleaning's gonna go pretty quick on this one. We'll see what kind of condition the paint is in after I get the soot off of it. If it's halfway decent, I don't know. I'll probably repaint it just so that way it's nice and really shiny, like brand hammer new shiny. I did remove some paint off of the tag so I could find the number because it was completely covered. 44 120, so she's a little bit lower in the series of these, so that's kind of neat, and kind of explains why it has so much wear, but it's still that shouldn't be that bad because I've had horns from the 90s and 80s that weren't even that bad. So there was an issue there. That's why I wanted to take care of the issue before I did the test honk, because I didn't want anything getting any worse or potentially causing even more damage. So I was just very fortunate that none of the front diaphragms were were broken, if this would have happened and then the front diaphragm would have broke and it would have started eating into that even further, that would have had to been replaced right away. So we got pretty lucky on that. Like you guys heard, it sounds awesome. I'm not going to do anything crazy with this one. It's going to stay original. I'm going to put it back together in its original bell configuration. Everything's going to be just how it was. I'm going to make sure, take a lot of steps to make sure if I don't like the sound of better diaphragms in there and I go back to using the original diaphragms, I'm going to make sure I mark the tops and bottoms on those diaphragms so that way everything goes back exactly how it was. The new ones should sound pretty decent though, so hopefully we'll see. I'd like to put better ones in there just so that way these don't keep getting so wore down, because eventually that's going to get wore down to the point where that's going to fail and crack and break, and then I'll be dealing with the headache of a broken front diaphragm. So normally those can take quite a bit of abuse though. That would take a long time, but okay, so a question that I've had a couple times and I keep forgetting to answer is, what do I use to remove these stubborn guys? Well, I'm gonna show you finally. This is a special socket set from Craftsman. It's specifically designed for long bolts and tight spaces. This is the bigger socket wrench that comes with. Normally I use this one for the top ones, or like if I'm working on an L manifold. But for these guys, I use the smaller one that they provide. It's a really nice set. They have reducers, so that way you can use the smaller extension and the bigger wrench. And they have various sizes of sockets. I'll show you the actual kit in a minute. I don't have the cover on it anymore, so I honestly can't remember what it's called or what they're calling it. But if I show you it, then you guys can look for it in hardware stores and wherever else you can find your tools at. But these are really nice for long bolts. The bolts can go all the way through the extensions, through the sockets. Really cool set. So you guys can see the shape of this. The extension is very tight till it has to flare out for the actual socket. This ware that's on here is where it rubs up against the letters, but I can 100% guarantee it's a heck of a lot easier than just trying to use like a normal deep well socket on that. And then it has the socket itself flares out, and this whole area kind of fits the form of the bell, which is really cool. And I'll try and get a good angle on this. So you guys can see I have all that mobility right there on this. So these work really good on non-raised letter bells, and they still work pretty decent on raised letter bells. Like you guys can see, I get a little bit of wear there, but it's nowhere near the fight. You guys can see I can basically go straight in. It loops around the bell pretty much, and gets right on the socket, or right on the bolt, and I'm able to, it fans out at the end there, so that way I have all that space right there. So that's what I prefer to use. Other times I will just straight up use a regular old 9/16 9/16 flat wrench, just a normal one. You know, these are, I'm not always in a hurry. I have no problem with turning wrenches all day long. I actually enjoy it. And so these just latch right on there, and then they kind of kick out depending on which way you don't really want to put it this way, because then you you're right on the bell. But it's nice that it, you know, just a regular wrench. Oh boy, that's not focusing. Regular wrench just has that little kick out right there. So even if you can't afford the fancy socket set, you can just use a regular old 9/16 that has that little kick out on it. And you know, you might have to turn it a few extra times, but it's going to work just the same. And I'll show you guys the actual set here. I have tried using ratcheting ones on there. They're a little too thick sometimes, and even though it would be nice just to ratchet, they're just a little too thick, a little hard to get on there. But this is the set, guys. Has that little thing on it. Like I said, I honestly can't remember what the info is on this, and it doesn't say anywhere on the case. But you guys can see it comes with a lot of cool stuff. It has metric and standard sockets, and it has a couple different sizes of both for both the wrenches. Bring this over here. So I'll put the set back exactly how it is here. And I got a few sockets out right now, but just that way you guys can kind of get a feel for stuff. So other than the few that I have out right now for other things, this is everything that comes in the set. I'm missing a few of those because I'm currently using that stuff. It even has attachments for regular sockets. If you just want to use them for regular sockets, they have the special attachments that fit into the wrench, and then fits a normal square back socket. The two different sizes of extensions. Of course, it has the reducer, and then it has sockets that fit only the small wrench, and then it has bigger ones that only fit the big wrench. Really cool set. I got this for my birthday from the future in-laws, so that was really cool. I'm not sure how much this set is. I know it's not cheap, but well worth it, because even if you're not using it for horns, if you just need a really good wrench set for like long bolts or something, like A+ for this set. So Craftsman, if you see this video and you want to sponsor it, you know, hit your boy up. Oh, I need those. We're getting goofy, guys. It's getting late. Watch out. Alright, I'll get everything back out that I need here. I just kind of wanted to show you guys the whole set all together, so that way if you find it in stores and you got the money for it, pick it up. Well worth it. Well worth it. And it's Craftsman, so you know, it's, if anything does break, they'll replace it for you. Lifetime warranty on that stuff, so that's cool. So yeah, guys, that's what I use for getting at the hard to reach bolts. And then even when I have the even if I'm doing top ones, that whole setup is great for the hard to reach places, and even these, because we'll see here. I have a normal deep well 9/16 socket, and you guys can see what, you know, that's sitting at an angle on there. And I'm sure a lot of you deal with the hassles of, you know, trying to use a deep well in some of these areas that don't really work, especially on the raised letters, because then you're all jacked up like that and you don't even have room for a wrench. So if you guys can find that set, get it, because it's going to make your life 100 times easier, especially if you do a lot of maintenance, bell swapping, horn building like I do, all that stuff, you know. So well worth it. I guess I'll go over a couple other things here while we got the video going. So three 3/16 Allen head is, if you don't know, that's what takes off the diffuser ring bolts. I tend to use the regular old style Allen wrench a little bit more than that one, just because I can kind of torque them down a little bit better with this one. And you guys can see that gets a lot of use, both sides. So, another thing that kind of comes in handy for me is a very small set of little tweezer pliers. Mainly what I use these for is pulling out the O-rings or the foot gaskets, because the issue that I run into is, so we'll take one, put it in there, and especially if you have wore down ones, this one's a little bit newer, so that's in there. Now I'm gonna try to pull it out, and you guys can see it takes a couple tries, but if you have the ones that are like really wore down and in there and you can't get them, you're not going to get it even if you have fingernails growed out pretty good. So what I do is I take that and I just kind of grab it a little bit. I'm not too worried if I poke a little hole in it, it's not going to hurt it too much, and then it comes right out like that. So that's just another handy thing to have if you guys, I mean, hobby shops and anything has these little guys. It's mainly what I have them for, is all my model railroading, but they tend to work for horns pretty well. So back cap bolts, I mean, you can use damn near anything on those, so don't really have to explain too much on that. But yeah, I do use the smaller wrench when I'm removing these, because it fits in there a little bit better. The tall one does work, it just rubs on the top of it a lot because it is kind of binding up underneath there. So the small one with the extension and your small 9/16 socket works perfect for getting those hard to reach ones. Saves a lot of time, saves a lot of hassle. And then even when I'm going to put the bell back on, I'll get just this, and as I'm holding the bell and I'm trying to line stuff up, I'll turn this by hand so that way my bolts catch, and then I'll just run them down by hand till they're snug, and then I'll tighten them the rest of the way. Huge time saver. Like I said, guys, if you can find it, get it. It's going to save you so much time and hassle. Or if you're like me and you like doing things the old school way, you can always get a regular wrench. So that pretty much covers all that good stuff that people have been asking about. Hopefully kind of gives you guys some insight on how I kind of work around some of that stuff. Find some right tools for the project. The right tool, any project you ever do in your life, horns, home, vehicle, the right tool saves a lot of time and hassle. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I am gonna do a little bit of experimenting tomorrow. Tomorrow's basically my last free day for about a week and a half, so I might do another video tomorrow on something, might not. But yeah, so hopefully this video was helpful, at least from the tool side, and then you guys got to see kind of what was going on with this. Like I said, a little bit of, definitely some wear, but she sounded pretty good, so we'll clean it up, stick it back together, and do some more sound testing with her, and see how she sounds. You guys heard my 2 sound clips of the raised letter K5HL out there. Seemed like you guys like the deep bore 2 version a little bit better than the shallow bore 2. So that's pretty much what I'm going to keep it as, is a deep bore 2. And it kind of fits pretty good because then all the bells are the same era, because all the bells are 2018, were produced in 2018 on that. So that's pretty much it for that. And then tomorrow if I have the time. I want to get some ideas from you guys. So in my parts closet right now, I have a manifold that I want to use. Couple deep bore 2, shallow bore 2, raised letter standard 3, raised letter standard 4, and then a raised letter 4A. Give me some ideas of what bell combinations you think would sound cool, or some type of hybrid horn that would sound neat. Because yeah, I'm trying to figure out an idea for that. Eventually I want to get another high manifold and maybe just build a normal K5HL, since I have a crap ton of hybrids now. So I might end up doing that, but if you guys have some ideas of what might sound cool together that I'm not thinking of, let me know. And then let me know. Yeah. So yeah. 30 minutes, boy. Alright, everybody. Hope some of that was helpful. Hope you guys are enjoying the updates on this old girl. She's gonna sound good no matter what we do. So, till next time, everybody, take care.